crafty people. This is Letty from Letty Lynn's Corner. Today I'm wanting to show you something that I've done actually a long time ago and realized that there's not a lot of tutorials of how to make stencils with your Cricut. So to give you a little idea of some of the ones I've made. So this is one that I've made. It's pretty awesome when you put ink or some kind of medium through it. This one, I love raspberries, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to make a stencil out of that. This one is very pretty. Raindrops. A bunch of leaves. This one's pretty. Just a simple, it's kind of a jagged circle. Kind of a mosaic. A card stencil. This one's kind of cool. It's actually a whole tree. I've used both the negative and the positive. So that gives you a little idea. I have probably a few more, but it gives you the idea of what we're about to try to do. The material that I use, I've used several different things, but to be really honest, the easiest thing to use is from the dollar store. You can get really thin vinyl folders, and it's just a really thin plastic, and it cuts fairly well. I've tried several different types, and some of them work good and some of them are a bit more of a struggle depending on what your image looks like and how you're cutting it. I did purchase from Walmart this here stencil. It's the Hello Hobby stencil blanks. So I think we're going to try that today. But there's lots of different options. I really like the ones that are more of a plasticky feel, and they're soft. They seem to cut the best. You can use a little bit of a heavier folder, and it works for certain designs. So it really just depends on what the design is and how intricate it is. I only have the Cricut Explore Air 2, and so I don't have all the features that like the Maker or the one up above that has. It still is an awesome machine, and I've obviously done all of these stencils from this machine, so it doesn't mean that you can't do it. You just have to kind of figure out what works with it. So let's go to Design Space.
All right, we're over at Design Space, Cricut, and we are on a new canvas. And one that I found was called Sparkles, so it's a good one to start on. And we're going to choose this one here. And you can't see my button down there at the bottom. Oh, and I happened to click on that one, so we will get rid of him. And so we're going to create basically a stencil with this. So you're going to duplicate it, and you're going to place your sparkles wherever you kind of want them to be. You can rotate it to change kind of where each one is, so it looks a little bit more random. So let's just say we go through this whole process and basically make a bunch of them. You will then select all, you will group them, and you will attach them. Okay, so that's how you would go about doing multiple of them. And then of course you can change the size After you put them all together, you could make big, small, however you want. So I actually already made one, so we're going to get out of here and actually just delete this and go to my projects. And I have one here already started. For some reason my taskbar is not letting me see it. Where it's technically customized. So we're going to replace it. And so I made one here already. So it's already been selected, it's grouped, it's attached, and then we are going to make it. So it goes onto your mat. I'm going to continue. And this is where you're going to figure out what works for you and your machine. Now, my machine, I mean, not that they're all that different, but of course it depends on how, you know, you got a brand new blade in your housing, then you're fine. You're most likely what I'm selecting will be fine. So I've tried several different types of cutting material to see which one works. And the one that I actually had to do was to go to browse. So you're going to go all the way down to the bottom of where it says material settings. Okay. And this is where you can actually create your custom materials. So you would start with a basic, let's see here. Oh, actually it says add a new material. So that's where you would go. So you add a new material. You're going to put whatever you want to call it. I put mine as thick stencil film. And, or no, sorry. Yeah, thick stencil is what I did. And then I have thick stencil film. So I wrote that in there. And let's all just show you the one I made. So here's the one it is. And let's just pretend that I'm starting from scratch. You're going to, at the very top, it tells you your cut pressure, how many cuts you want it to go around each cut, and then the blade type. And then, of course, the material name. So I went down and I created one that had 350, which is the highest pressure that you can go, I believe. And then I did it where it's going to go around 6 times on each one. Now, again, we'll see how this one does, but I kind of tested it yesterday, and 6 times seems to be a good number for it to fully cut through. And then, of course, you're doing the deep point blade. I realized today that I actually had the fine point blade in there yesterday, and it did the job. So today we'll see how well the deep point blade does with what we've got. Okay, so it's already set. We're going to go to cancel. That one has already been selected, so we're going to go done. And we're going to do, oh wait, maybe it's not selected. We're going to go to our thick stencil. We'll get rid of this one as the favorite. And that's the one we want. Done. And we're ready to go. All right, so we're going to go over to the Cricut.
All right, so I have it put up here on my mat, and I did it the longer way because the stencil that we're doing is going to be basically within this range, so I figured it's fine to go this way. So just as a precaution, I will try to stay to one side or the other of this guide, just in case I had to unload it and reload it. And that's mainly when it comes to the Explorer Air 2. I believe with the other machines they have a little bit more leeway where they are a little smarter than this one. But when you're dealing with this machine, you can really get messed up if you don't make sure that it's exactly the same. It'll off-cut it. So I just, as a precaution, any type of stuff that I'm going to do on my Cricut, I always try to make sure I load it directly to that. There is a tiny, like the size of a fingernail gap in there, and that's enough to mess it up. So you're going to load, and you're going to cut. So again, this is a bit of a longer process, so we're going to go in hyperspeed. It is done. So the moment of truth. Not good. So it did not cut all the way through. So we are going to try to do it with the fine tip blade. See what it does with that. So again, because I paid attention to that, where I put it in and kept it as close to the left, the hope is that it will do exactly what it did in the exact same spot, but we will see. Okay, it is done. So now the results are going to be way better. Look at that. They come out perfectly fine. So actually I think it's better to use the fine point tip blade. And I guess I should have went this direction on my mat because it went over a little bit, but that's okay. It gives it, it gives it a little more, you know, it looks good to go off the edge sometimes on your paper or whatever project you're doing. And besides, there's enough diamonds or sparkles that are there. So yeah, it turned out really good. I'm excited. But you definitely could cut your time in half if you just, I think, go with the fine point blade. So I think that wraps up this portion of the stencil video. So if you have any questions, definitely leave me a comment. And if you found this interesting, please like and subscribe if you like my content. And also share if you know of anyone else that is wanting to know how to make stencils or any of my other videos. All right, thank you so much for joining me on Letty Lynn's Corner, and you have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time.